In a small town, a young boy stood in a field holding a baseball. He wanted to be a great pitcher more than anything else in the world. But from the day he was born, everyone told him his dream was impossible. Why? Because this boy, Jim Abbott, was born with only one hand. His big dream seemed to be over before it could even start. Baseball is a game you play with two hands. You throw the ball with one hand. You catch the ball with a big glove on your other hand. It's a simple back-and-forth action. This was the giant puzzle for Jim. If he wore the glove on his only hand, how could he throw the ball? And if he took the glove off to throw, how could he ever catch a ball hit right back at him? But young Jim did not give up. In his backyard, he practiced for hours and hours, throwing a ball against a brick wall. He figured out something amazing. He would rest his big baseball glove on the end of his right arm. Then, he would throw the ball hard with his left hand. In a single, quick flash, he would slip his left hand into the glove, ready to catch. He invented a whole new way to play the game. This special move, which people called the Abbott switch, needed to be faster than thinking. Picture him throwing that ball against the wall, not 10 times, not 100 times, but thousands and thousands of times. He practiced until the motion was so smooth and so fast that it looked like magic. He knew he had to be quicker than any other player on the field, just to be equal. And so, he became quicker. Think about that for a moment. The one thing that was supposed to stop him became the very thing that made him work harder than everyone else. It forced him to be smarter and to find a new way. This shows a big truth in life. Sometimes, our biggest challenges are not walls that stop us. They are doors to making us stronger than we ever thought we could be. But as Jim Abbott started playing on real teams, he faced a new kind of challenge. Opponents saw his one hand not with wonder, but as a target. They would hit the ball very softly, right back at him, in a move called a bunt. They believed there was no way he could field the ball and throw it to first base in time. Every game became a test. The pressure was huge. Everyone in the stadium, from the fans to the other players, would hold their breath. They were all watching, waiting to see if this was the moment he would finally fail. It was a constant battle, not just against the batter, but against the doubt that filled the air. Instead of breaking, Jim grew stronger. He took their challenge and turned it into his fuel. He practiced his special move, the Abbott switch, over and over again. He made it faster, smoother, and more perfect. He turned what everyone thought was his biggest weakness into a surprising strength, proving his doubters wrong with every single play. Then came the moment when the world stopped seeing him as just an inspirational story. He was no longer just the kid trying his best. He was becoming one of the best players in the country. In college, Jim Abbott was a superstar, winning game after game with his amazing talent. He led Team USA to a gold medal in the Olympics, a victory for his entire country. And then he won the Golden Spikes Award, given to the very best amateur baseball player in the nation. It was official. Jim Abbott was not just a good player for a guy with one hand. He was an elite athlete, period. Soon after, the biggest dream of all came true. He was drafted to play in Major League Baseball. The boy who was told he could never play was now a professional. He was going to play on the biggest stage in the world, a place reserved for only the very best. He put on the uniform of the California Angels and later, the New York Yankees. He stepped onto the same fields as the legends of the game. The small boy who threw a ball against a brick wall was now standing under the bright lights of massive stadiums in front of thousands of cheering fans. Every time he stood on the pitcher's mound, it was a quiet victory. It was proof that hard work could beat any challenge. He wasn't just happy to be there. He was a great pitcher who belonged among the stars of the game. He had climbed the impossible mountain, but his greatest moment was yet to come. Picture the scene. It's September 4th, 1993. The bright lights of the world-famous Yankee Stadium are shining down. The air is buzzing with energy as a huge crowd watches his every move. Jim Abbott is on the mound, facing one of the best teams in baseball. The pressure is almost too much to imagine, but on this special day, something magical was happening. A moment that would go down in history was about to unfold, proving that for those with enough heart, nothing is truly impossible. It was September 4th, 1993, a warm day at the famous Yankee Stadium. Jim Abbott was no longer just an inspirational story, he was a star pitcher. But on this day, he stood on the edge of doing something that even his biggest supporters thought was impossible. He was about to chase history. The game moved into the final inning. For 8 innings, not a single player on the other team had gotten a hit. The crowd knew what was happening. 40,000 people rose to their feet. The entire stadium was silent, watching, waiting, and holding its breath. 1 out. The roar from the crowd grew with every pitch. Jim focused, blocking out the noise, his eyes locked on the catcher's glove. He threw the ball. The batter swung. 2 outs. The feeling in the air was electric. 1 more out stood between Jim and one of the greatest moments in sports. The final batter stepped into the box. The pitch flew, the bat swung, and the ball bounced on the ground toward the shortstop. He scooped it up, threw it to first base, and he was out. Jim Abbott had done it. The boy with one hand threw a no-hitter for the New York Yankees. The stadium erupted in a wave of pure joy. But that incredible moment was about so much more than a baseball game. It wasn't just about the final score or a name written in the record books. It was a powerful message, sent loud and clear to the entire world. This victory was for every single person who was ever told, "You can't." It was for anyone who was ever looked at and seen only for what they were missing, instead of for all the amazing things they had. It was proof that doubt from others means nothing when you have belief in yourself. Jim Abbott's journey proves a simple, powerful truth. The very thing that others see as your biggest weakness, the thing they think will hold you back, can become the source of your greatest, most unstoppable strength. His story is not just about him. It is about the amazing potential hidden inside every single one of us. It asks a question that we all must answer for ourselves. What is your one hand? What is the big challenge in your life that people say you can never overcome? What is the dream that feels just out of reach? Jim Abbott showed the world that a limit is just something you haven't broken yet. Go out and prove them wrong. Turn your biggest challenge into your greatest victory, because your comeback story is waiting to be written. After the cheering stops and the stadium lights go dark, the true victory remains. It is not a trophy sitting on a shelf or a record printed in a book. It is the quiet, powerful lesson that settles deep inside the heart. Jim Abbott's journey started with the simple struggle of learning to tie his own shoes. It reached a peak on the world's biggest stage in front of millions of people. The long, unbroken line between those 2 moments was paved with pure, unshakable will. His life teaches a very important truth. He did not spend his energy trying to prove the doubters wrong. He spent his energy proving his own belief in himself right. That small change in thinking makes all the difference. The famous Abbott switch was more than just a lightning-fast move with a baseball glove. It was a way of seeing the world. It was a mental switch that turned a disadvantage into an advantage and a wall into a door. This is why his story is so much bigger than baseball. It is a map for the human heart. It is a guide for every single person who has ever been told you can't, simply because they are different. Think for a moment of all the children who saw him play. For them, the word impossible suddenly lost its power. He did not just play a game. He changed the rules of what a whole generation thought was possible. This is the fire of the human spirit. It is the simple refusal to accept the limits that others place on you. It is the courage to build your own reality, one brave choice at a time. So, his story leaves us with a new question. We should not ask ourselves, can I overcome my challenge? We should ask, how will I overcome it? This changes the feeling from one of doubt to a plan for action. Your biggest challenge might not be on a baseball diamond. Your mountain to climb might be a dream that feels too big or a fear that feels too strong. But the path forward is the same. Find your own unique switch, the special move that turns your greatest weakness into your greatest weapon. Because every rock bottom is a launch pad. Jim Abbott's life is proof that the very thing that is meant to break you can become the engine that makes you truly and completely unstoppable.